Hey guys, welcome back to Me Watch a Movie. I am Mike, and today we're talking about a movie called Reptile, which I never heard anybody talk about before. I didn't hear jack shit about this movie, and I'm just playing around with I'm playing around with on Netflix. I saw it and I was like, Benicio? Benicio! Emilio! And it's not a horror movie, but it does feel like a horror movie, and not just in the fact that it's like, a Seven type of movie where it is about a serial killer. It's about the hunt for a serial killer. A movie like The Little Things, where they do dip the tip in horror a little bit. But more specifically, this feels like a horror movie because it's so anxiety-inducing throughout the whole thing, which we'll get to. But the cast of this thing was amazing. Justin Timberlake, Benicio del Toro, Alicia Silverstone, Michael Pitt, that curly-headed fucker from Uncut Gems, Dom from Entourage, just top to bottom. Even the sub characters in this you'll be like, who the fuck is that guy? Pretty simple story. Someone killed Justin Timberlake's girlfriend, who was a real estate agent, and they killed her brutally. And then Benicio del Toro is a detective. His partner Atto and Sando and him navigate this Scream type of whodunit murder mystery flick. Meanwhile, Benicio's character has some weird as fuck relationships going on with his wife's family and with his partner and with his own wife, Alicia Silverstone. I have missed Alicia Silverstone, and she was, as good in this as I've seen her in anything. She was really good in this, and her relationship, her chemistry with Benicio del Toro was really cool as well. They kind of remind me of like me and my wife, just without, all the dark shit. But the way that they interact with each other was just super cool and strange and different, and I loved it. She was so good in this. It was so nice to see her again. Benicio was a fucking son of a bitch in this movie, you guys. He's always awesome, but his character in this, as he goes through, and what's cool about the movie while they investigate this murder is there's just so many threads. And that's when I mentioned Scream as like a whodunit. Everybody in this movie is a red herring. Everyone's a suspect. Literally everybody. There's times when you're like, shit, I think Benicio fucking did it. Where'd you get that cut on your hand, pal? The movie does such a good job of just making everyone seem like they have done dark shit in a bedroom with a salad. I don't know where that one came from. Stop fucking salads! But seriously, Benicio is cool as fuck in this movie. Someone could literally spit in his face and just call him a bitch, and he'd be like, be careful. And you would just know that means that he's gonna come back in 20 minutes and butt fuck their entire life. You can never really get a pulse on him, but he's just so fucking cool this entire movie. Just the way he intakes information and acts. I could watch that guy literally clean a toilet seat in this movie, which we'll get to. He kind of reminded me of like a sort of domesticated-ish version of his character in Sicario, Day of the Silcaco. Still the Day of the... God! Day of the cock and shit. He could be in the middle of like the most intense situation ever, and he just looks like that dude on your couch during Christmas time that just opened a 6-pack of Heineken. But there's so many threads going with this character at the same time. When you look into his eyes, even if he's being reserved, it looks like you're like, is he starting to unravel under the surface a little bit?
It's a real nightmare.
Michael Pitt's character plays the resonant, oh, that fucking guy did it character. Just the complete wackadoodle looking dude. He's creepy as shit. Really did a great job in this movie. He's sort of, if you were to compare this to that movie, The Little Things, he would be the Jared Leto character. And that comparison right there is the big problem with the film itself that we will get to, is it does almost have Little Things syndrome, and not what you're thinking. And you guys know what a Fincher file I am. I love David Fincher films, man. I get up in the morning and I brush my teeth to that shit. I love it. This is David Fincher all over it, from top to bottom. You could have told me David Fincher made this film, I'd have believed you every day and twice on Sunday. Wouldn't have had a single qualm with you saying that. It's directed by a guy named Grant Singer, who's only done music videos up to this point, which is surprising. And I'm not saying the movie is perfectly directed. Again, we're going to get into some of the stuff that's wrong with it. But damn, the cinematography, the camera movements, the fucking coolness of the characters, and some of the dialogue moments, the entire thing feels like a Fincher film. It's gorgeous. It feels like Fincher. It feels like Nocturnal Animals in some ways. And as things unfold in the movie, remember I mentioned that it felt like a horror film in a way, just because, not because of the things that happen in it. It's not that horrific thing happens apart from a tiny bit of stuff, but the way that the plot moves along, it's very anxiety inducing, the way that these camera shots work, the way that the whole movie works, the way that the characters' faces are framed. Midsommar is a movie that I didn't end up enjoying, right? But like the first half of the movie, I was actually freaked out by really bad. When those people are jumping off the rocks and stuff, I was like, I'm actually like, I feel like I'm having a panic attack. This movie's actually scaring me. Fuck you, Ari Aster, and your Hereditary ass. But ultimately what happened was they went full wackadoodle with it, and I was like, okay, you lost me. Just dudes fucking in bear suits. I don't know. Whether you like it or not, that's fine. Not my cup of tea. But this has that anxiety-inducing vibe to it. And it's one of those movies that's so pretty to look at, you can just watch someone drive in their car, and you're like, fuck, that looks awesome. I love the way that radio light illuminates your face, Benicio. This shit gets me going. I love the way these movies look. Anyways, they add to it with the score. The score by this guy, Yair Elazer Glotman, God, that's a terrible name to say, is he also scored All Quiet on the Western Front, and he scored Joker. The only reason you haven't heard of his name, because he's fucking awesome, is because it's that hard to say. But this score is bone rattling and cool as fuck, and it gets really loud in the weirdest moments. But like, as the camera's turning, something's about to be revealed to you, even if it's something totally inconsequential in the end. When the camera turns around to reveal it, the score does this like thing where it gets super loud and just gnarly and cool, and it's not Carpenterish, but it's that level of like noticeable, like you notice it that much. And I forgot when I was mentioning the cast to mention Justin Timberlake. He's so good in this as well. Like, he doesn't play an absolutely huge role in the movie, but he is an integral part, and the movie starts with him, and he's in there as it goes. He does an amazing job because he plays this total mama's boy, kind of creepy mama's boy. As I said, everyone's a suspect. Everyone's a suspect! But he plays this mama's boy, sort of creepy, like rich Gap dude. And Justin Timberlake made it work because he toned down any ego he had and just played the role for what it was. He wasn't trying to be cool at any point in this. He wasn't trying to be a badass in this. He wasn't chewing scenery. He played the role dead ass for how it was written. And it, by doing that, fit perfectly into it and added so much to the movie and to his character. Very reserved performance, but he was really good to watch on screen, and he was exactly what this movie needed. Now we're at the big fat gaping problem with the movie for so many people, and why it's got a lower score on Rotten Tomatoes, and why I feel nobody's really talking about it. And that's the fact that it's just one of those movies where not a lot happens, unfortunately. As these things unravel and everything's so cool and everyone's so cool, and it's very True Detective-ish as well. It's got those vibes to it for sure. It's just not a lot really happens. You remember when I mentioned that it was very Screamish in the fact that everyone is a red herring and anybody could have done it. It's only like Scream in those ways, but the difference between this kind of whodunit and that is there's not a lot of victims. There's not a high body count. There's not a lot of stuff going on. It's a very, very singular, esoteric, focused story. While a lot of stuff's going on, there's only one really big thing that the movie is really honed in on. I think it would have taken away a little bit from the vibe of it, but I think it overall would have added so much more to it if they had multiple victims showing up by this killer. Obviously, it would have taken away from the story and the focus of it. So like I said, you're giving and getting a little bit with that. But I think a lot of people will be frustrated with this movie at the lack of things actually taking place and the lack of the threads actually leading to big situations. Now, if you were in this situation in real life, all of this would be just as intense in this. You'd be like, holy shit. But watching it through a movie, you're a little bit jaded, a little bit desensitized to it all. So like you almost need more action or more events actually taking place. And I feel like that's where people's qualms are coming with the movie. And that's where it's a lot like Little Things. The Little Things, if you remember, it was the COVID era HBO Max movie with Jared Leto and Denzel Washington that had all the cool looks and vibes of a Seven, of a serial killer thriller. And I don't remember too much about it. I just remember being like, nothing fucking happens in this movie and being kind of disappointed with how cool it could have been. This one, I'd say more happens in this one than in that one. I will say that, but it does suffer from that a little bit. It's a whole lot of posturing and not a whole lot of actually events taking place as that's going on, for sure. But I do think it looks so fucking cool and it sounds so cool and everyone's so cool. It really didn't bother me. I still give the movie at the end of the day a 7.5 out of 10. I would call this pretty rad. I almost expected, I don't know, like the way everything was so serious and leading up to something, I expected some huge crescendo and a dragon to come out of the fucking sky at some point, or to be actually Al Pacino would come out and be like, he's a sadist! Come out of the fucking ground as the devil. Everything seems so intense, you almost expected more of an explosion at the end. But I do find it to be satisfying myself. And you would be satisfied with me if, oh, wait, what? I'd say anybody who's a huge fan of Fincher films and serial killer movies and fucking badass Benicio del Toro performances, you got to check this out. I totally recommend it to you. It's on Netflix right now, and it's still got your horror vibe. So you watch it during October. It's fine. It still counts. Maybe a little palate cleanser. And finally, I love your all's fucking faces. Check out these new shirts that just got made by our buddy Wolf of Elm Street. Check them out. They are a little bit cheaper just today. I'll put a link down to the new merch in the description below. Mine's on its way. I can't wait for it to get here so I can touch it and I could love on it and I could squeeze it. I love your all's fucking faces. You guys have an amazing Tuesday.
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, goddamn.
Goddamn you faggot!
Halloween never ends, suck my fucking dick, and I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box, or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not, yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS.